data in general. I did a lot of different things in the classroom last year, and we did a lot of things as a grade level to track data. So I have some examples at the end. But before we really get started, this is a QR code for a Padlet. So if you have your phone, you can just scan the QR code. So I just want you to think about, why do we track data? Why should we track data and model tracking data? And why should students track data? Like, what's the importance of having students track data? You have to sit next to Frank. You can. It's okay. Emily's terrified of them. Did everybody get it up?
Mine's not working on my phone for some reason.
Oh,
But no, it's okay.
Can somebody tell me what the password is, like to get?
For TISD, so you go to
To get it
TISD.
on my phone, to get the email, I need somebody to help me get the email on my phone.
It actually, I don't think it'll work through Apple email anymore. I think you have to download the Outlook app, because we changed
I have Outlook.
Outlook to Microsoft. And then the server or whatever it is
Oh, no worries.
mail.tylerisd.org.
Palette updated elsewhere. Update, look, I can't click a little green dot.
Okay, so some of you have put, it gives students a visual of where they are and how they progress. So that's kind of what we're gonna look at today, is some different ways that you can do that. Celebrating progress is a big one, because then they get to see how far they've gone, and where they can go from there. And celebrations, I think, are such a big thing to do, especially in all grade levels, from your little ones to your biggest ones, because I know in pre-K you can celebrate the fact that they recognize all of their letters, or they recognize 6 of their letters. Like, that's a big deal for pre-K. And then in 5th grade, you're celebrating all of the things. There's so many things that we like to celebrate in 5th grade. Yeah, it makes people feel successes, kind of goes with celebrating. I also think it's important, if you have a scoreboard, to not just let it be a scoreboard, or to not just let it be a place where you're tracking it, but to actually watch it and celebrate it with your kids. Like, if you've gone to Mrs. Brower's Leader in Me hallway templates, she has where you can track your professional and your personal wigs. And to me, that's not just something that you can put out, that you should just put outside and track yourself, but actually have your students hold you accountable. And I think that for me is a big one, is having that accountability. We'll come back to the Padlet in a minute.
Can somebody tell me what the password is to get on the Wi-Fi?
It's TISD Wi-Fi. You have to go to TISD guest.
Okay.
Mine's not working, it's actually crazy.
I think they're still getting all the kinks. So before you can even use a scoreboard, you have to have a reason to use a scoreboard. So you have to set a goal. So if you just have a scoreboard up there, but you don't have a goal to actually set, then there's really no purpose to even have a scoreboard. And we all know that. And that's using habit too, and making sure that we are beginning with the end in mind, and knowing what do we want to accomplish, how are we going to accomplish it, and then tracking it with a scoreboard or some other form of tracking it. So why do we use it? Kind of goes along with tracking data, because it does give a visual, but using a scoreboard, it's really simple to use. I mean, it's laid out like a calendar. And so for some of your kids that may not even know what a calendar looks like, it's a great way to start getting them used to what a calendar is. So it's easy to read and track. So if you have like a plus on Sunday and a delta on Monday, you can visually see, oh, I did well on Sunday on my goal, but I didn't do so well on Monday. it's accessible to all, like, we get to see calendars are something that are everywhere, and so now we're gonna just take the calendar and put it into a tracking form. Easy to understand, easily shared and viewed by others, and it keeps you accountable. And I can share this PowerPoint with you. What can you track? So this is, if you still have your Padlet up on your phone, these are just some of the things that I came up with, but think about what else can you track with a scoreboard for your own grade level, or for what you're doing with GT, or what you're doing with SPED. What else can you track with a scoreboard? So some of the things that we do is we track student attendance percentages. So we see how many kids are in our class, and if it's everybody's here, it's 100%. If one person's missing, it might be 97%. And so we track that, and we get to write that on a scoreboard. Wig tracking, that's my favorite. I love wigs, actually. Reading levels, those would be a great one, and you can do scoreboards by weeks instead of by days if that works better for what you're tracking. AR points, sight words. So what else do you think you can track?
Homework.
I'm gonna pull up the Padlet. Homework, behavior, good. Teaks mastery. Oh, we're gonna talk about that. What's something else you can think of to track in pre-K?
Maybe if we have a goal like collecting the shoes last year, we could
Yeah.
track that.
How many pairs of shoes you have each day? That would be a really great one, because I know I was just super overwhelmed with all the shoes, and I know Mrs. Williams was, because she had so many. What could y'all track in 5th grade?
I guess, I mean, of course, we always track all of our short cycle assessments, just to see growth, from
Yeah.
from each session to the next.
So I think that there's so many different things that you can track with scoreboards, because scoreboards don't have to be a daily thing. Like I said, scoreboards can be what works for you. Scoreboards can be with a week, like the 6 weeks, and then you have a new scoreboard. Or scoreboards can be for every other day, if that's what works for whatever you guys are tracking. Letter recognition, I feel like, is a big one.
It is, it's huge.
But I will put this out on, because it's linked in my slides, and I'll share the slides so that y'all still have access to this. So here are some examples of scoreboards that I did in my room. This was one of the big ones. We tracked mastery of TEKS. This was one of my favorite things that I did. I taught them the 6+1 traits of writing, and each week we talked about a different trait. And before I explained the trait to them, and then they got to, they knew the TEKS, I told them what they were, and they had a reference page for them to be able to look at what they were. And then at the very beginning of the week, before I taught them the lesson for the week, or the lesson for each day, they checked where they think they were. Green was, I got it, yellow is, I'm almost there, and red is, I need help. So you can see this one over here. He felt like he was really good on these two. Needed some work on that one, and then needed even more work on this one, and needed some work on that one. And then it was really cool to see by the end of the week, Friday was all green. And this was a self-assessment. This wasn't me telling them. They got to check how they felt like they were doing. And this year we're actually going to track what TEKS we're working on based on what we need. Actually, I'll show that to you in a minute. I forgot to put that on here.